New Texas State Bobcats head football coach, Kinne. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I host afternoons on Sports Radio 105.5 WNSP Mobile, Alabama, covering the South Alabama Jaguars. Prior to that, hosting on 103.7 The Game in the morning and covering the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. Today's episode of Locked On Sunbelt is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. All right, really thrilled to have new head coach of the Texas State Bobcats, Kinne, tells us about recruiting at the same time that he was coaching Incarnate Word, trying to put a staff together, what he looks for and who he needs to, what kind of players he's going for and who he's recruiting, what kind of positions that they needed to fill as quickly as possible through the transfer portal. And they got like 27 to 30 guys, which is really impressive in only a couple of months. He talks about himself and where all his coaching background and a little playing background and how one is actually an Eagles fan growing up and living in Texas. I'm sure that's going to go over really well. He also talks about coming up right now about Lindsey Scott Jr., the Walter Payton Award winner for Player of the Year in FCS football this past season. Only put up like 60 touchdowns and 11 on the ground. So like 71 touchdowns we were responsible for. All right, so welcoming Kinne, new Texas State Bobcats head coach, to Locked On Sunbelt. Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. Thrilled and honored to have the new Texas State Bobcats head coach, Kinne. And I have to say that slowly or else I'm going to say it JG because you sound like you should be a wealth management guy on Wall Street. Thank you so much for your time, Coach, and congratulations on the gig. How did it come about?
Man, just, we were in the playoffs and you go through the interview process and you have a couple different interviews. And I think for me, I was really hoping, Texas State acted first and they did. And great leadership here, great institution, really great opportunity for both sides. And I'm just really glad it worked out.
Yeah, we'll get back to you trying to put a staff together and recruiting and coaching in the playoffs a little bit later. Yeah. But I do want to talk about your quarterback who, I don't know, what do you have, like 71 touchdowns you're responsible for, Lindsey Scott Jr. So I've been following his career for a long time. I was doing mornings in Lafayette, Louisiana, covering the Raging Cajuns, and he's out of high school in Baton Rouge, and he's heading up my hometown way to Syracuse, New York. He's going to be this great replacement for Eric Dungy. But LSU doesn't have a quarterback in their recruiting class. They pull at his heartstrings and put him on campus. They offer him a scholarship, but he's never going to play there because of his size for the most part. And then he goes from this school to that school. He ends up at Nichols. He doesn't beat the Cajuns, but he ran all over them and had a great ball game against them in their Sunbelt championship year. And then this year, 60 touchdowns in the air, 60. Tell us about Lindsey Scott Jr., who was the Walter Payton Award winner as the best player in FCS this past year.
Yeah, Lindsey Scott is a stud. He's a true professional in everything he does. When our quarterback left last year and went to another school, we were in the portal and evaluating every guy that popped up. And he had a lot of success in the Southland, at Nichols, and he led the league in rushing but I wanted to make sure he could throw the ball. So we're looking through the film and watching everything, watching every game. And really the thing that really sold me on him was his game versus Lafayette. The previous year, he really lit those guys up. And I said, man, this guy's pretty special. If we have the opportunity to get him here, we got to get him. And brought him on a visit and spent the whole day with them, showing them the offense. And the next morning, it wasn't some kind of big closing recruiting pitch. He came down for breakfast and sat down with me and Coach Leftwich and said, all right, let's do this thing. I'm ready to go. So, he was very mature, very professional in everything he did throughout that process. And I obviously, that's why I tell Coach Leftwich all the time when we're talking to these different quarterbacks and we're giving them the recruiting pitch and telling them what we did with Lindsey. Remember how fast it took Lindsey to make that decision, and it really, that decision making really transferred to the field. So we're not getting caught up in who wants to be here, who doesn't want to be here. The guys that are supposed to be here, it'll take care of itself. And Lindsey, just from the very beginning, he's been to so many different schools. To be honest with you, I was kind of waiting to see, like, all right, when's the bad stuff going to come out? Like, what's going on here? Because he really was. He was the first guy in, last guy out. He trained hard. He was throwing it around the yard. Like, he was looking, obviously really good in the spring. And I think after that first spring practice, I was like, all right, we got a chance to be pretty special with this guy, just because of his running ability. He can make all the throws, but he was very intelligent. He really studied the playbook and studied the offense, and he was really like a coach on the field. So, I think when you get to the season, he was really tough. A lot of people don't know he kind of banged up his knee, week 2 versus Nevada, and really played. For a lot of guys, that's a 6-week injury. What he had, I don't want to go into specifics, but a lot of guys are out for a long period of time. He fought through that and still put up the numbers he did. So the guy is tough. He's smart. He's got all the athleticism you need. I think he's tearing it up right now at the NFLPA game out there, and I really believe somebody's going to fall in love with him and give him an opportunity to get into camp. And then once he gets there, I think they'll, see everything that we see. So I'm excited for him. And like you said, he had 71 touchdowns, 60 through there, 11 on the ground. And we really didn't even start running him because of the injury, and 2, we just had to preserve him until the playoffs. And you see what happened in the playoffs for him. So the guy's a stud, and somebody's going to fall in love with him.
Also, the passing thing was kind of working a little bit.
The passing thing was kind of working.
Yeah, so we're talking to G.J. Kinne, the new Texas State Bobcats head coach. All right, so let's take what, you only had Lindsey Scott Jr. for a year, but you did have somebody who has a ton of experience. How do you install a new offense with a new quarterback? And I believe, quote, unquote, at your press conference when you got the job, you said you're going to light up the scoreboard. Yeah. I'm a big believer. Win or lose, you can't be boring, and it doesn't appear the Bobcats are going to be boring. They're going to put up a lot of points, or at least attempt to.
Yeah, I think the style of play that we've created is very important. On offense, we're going to be very fast, be multiple, a lot of motions, a lot of tempo. We're going to throw the ball down the field. We're going to take shots. We're going to be exciting. And defense the same way. We're very aggressive. So I think style of play is important when you're, this day and age of college football, and no better place to do it than the Sun Belt. So I'm really excited about that. And I think we got some big time quarterbacks in the building, and they're going to battle it out in the spring and see what happens.
All right, let's take a timeout. We'll have more with G.J. Kinne, Texas State's new head football coach, after this. But first, let me tell you about FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are here. We're really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On, because they're the #1 sports book in America, FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, it's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. New customers, join today to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel has all of your favorite bets, from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, you can even combine your bets for a chance at bigger payouts with a same-game parlay. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So, football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, back with G.J. Kinne, new Texas State Bobcats head football coach, talks about a few things in our next segment. The offensive lineman that he got from Incarnate Word, Malik Hornsby, joining the crew from Arkansas, the new quarterback for the Bobcats, and his background, because he's moving up the coaching ranks very, very quickly. It is Texas State's new head football coach, G.J. Kinne, on Locked On Sunbelt. All right, so let's get to that without being specific. When do you like to have a time frame? When do you like to tell a quarterback, and the team for that fact of the matter, you're the guy?
I think it all just depends. We'll kind of see how spring ball goes, and if it's after spring ball, we'll do it then, and if not, it goes in training camp. I'm not big into like the secrets and this and that. Like, we'll figure out who the best guy is, and we'll roll with it.
Talking to G.J. Kinne, new Texas State Bobcats head football coach on Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. All right, it kind of feels like Texas State is this sleeping giant in the Sun Belt. They have, I believe, they're the largest school in the Sun Belt. They have the biggest budget in the Sun Belt, but they've never been able to, transfer that, at least on the football field. They've had success. They've had success as a basketball team, had success as a baseball team, and I think even as a softball team. But they haven't been able to do that as a football team. Why do you think that is, and how can you change that?
I'm just excited about the opportunity. We got great leadership here. I think what we're doing right now on the recruiting trail is pretty special. The guys we've been able to get here on campus and in classes and then in the high school ranks as well, just in a short period of time kind of tells you what we're going to be about. And, it takes great players and I think we're getting that, getting that thing rolling. But I expect to win next year. That's what I'm telling these guys on the team. And, they're working hard to do that.
Well, the West is going to be very tough. Troy is your defending champ. South Alabama is bringing back Carter Bradley. Southern Miss seems to be heading in the right direction, and we'll see if the Cajuns can reload a little bit, although their quarterbacks are coming back. Was there a specific, position group you were looking to add during this, time when you became head coach?
Yeah, I think two for me on offensive at least. The O-line, we had some guys leave and transfer out. So I think getting our 5 UIW guys here enrolled and on campus, helps them sleep at night. We got some big-time guys on the O-line. I think both tackles are NFL guys, and then we got some depth pieces that are really, really good players and have an opportunity to start. And so that was really big. And then obviously getting Malik Hornsby, quarterback transfer in here with his athleticism. And I'm really excited to help develop him, me and Coach Leftwich, and get in there and see what he's all about in the spring. Because I think he has a pretty special skill set, talking about, as a 10-3 guy in high school and back-to-back, state championship appearances, 52 touchdowns, 4 interceptions a senior year. So it's there. So I'm excited to develop him and see what he can do in the Sun Belt.
All right, we'll get to Malik Hornsby here in a second. Did you say you got 5 offensive linemen from our Incarnate Word?
Yeah, we got 5. Yeah.
All right, so that seems to be the one position group that they have to work in tandem, right? Like the corners don't necessarily work in tandem. The safeties don't necessarily work in tandem. The linebackers may not. The wide receivers don't. The running backs don't. But if one guy on that offensive line doesn't work together, right, then the whole play can mess up. How long does it take to build a chemistry with that offensive line? And if you already have it, bringing in the guys that already know your offense and know you.
Yeah, there's some guys that for sure we brought in here to play, and they're going to do that. And there's some guys on campus that are really talented as well. And I think, at the end of spring, we'll have a really good idea what that O-line looks like. And then we'll probably add some more pieces, in that next transfer portal window. So that's the thing right now, that with the way the scholarships are built and the way the NCAA is doing, it's a pretty fluid 85. So we'll kind of see what we look like after spring and add, and we'll probably lose some pieces and add the pieces that we need.
Fluid is a nice way of calling the transfer portal what it is. We're talking to G.J. Kinne, Texas State Bobcats head coach. Tell us about Malik Hornsby and his recruitment from Arkansas. I kind of feel like you were sending him maybe Lindsey Scott Jr. touchdown passes like every day or something along those lines.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. That was a big selling point because he did, Lindsey – he really got benched the last couple of games at Nickel State, and people said the development process, and he wanted to go somewhere where he could throw, and that's kind of what Malik was looking for as well. So the day he got in the portal till the day he got to campus, I reiterated that he's a quarterback, and he just needs to get developed, and we're the people to do that. There's no better people in the country that develops quarterbacks better than me and Coach Leftwich. So getting him on campus was huge, and I think his athleticism speaks for itself. His highlights are pretty unreal, and I think he's got a big-time arm as well. So I'm excited to really get in there and get to work with him. Right now he's just running and lifting and challenged him to, kind of step up and be that leader that I know he can be. And so those are the things he's working on right now.
Have you challenged him to a 100-yard dash yet?
I'm not doing that. I will lose. I can promise you that. I've seen him run out there. He's as fast as advertised.
All right, so talk about, because we have, there's, other big-time coaches at big-time programs, new coaches, potentially new quarterbacks. What do you expect in the spring? How much do you install offensively and defensively? Do you get into specifics, or is it kind of all right, we kind of need to go slow, general, and then they have that down, they have the basics down, and then we're ready to roll when fall camps begin, either at the end of July or beginning of August?
Yeah, we'll install our base offense, base defense, special teams, and but you know how that goes. Usually about that halfway point, coaches start getting competitive, and we start adding the motions and the trick plays and all that kind of stuff. So on offense for us, we're always gonna run our base stuff from week one to the bowl game. We'll be running our base offense every day. That's kind of what we believe in. Getting good at something and really just putting lipstick on the pig after that, dressing up the different plays on offense and defense. So, our guys should have, 90% of the playbook in after spring ball.
So now we're going to tweet out GJ Kinne calls his offense a pig. All right, great.
There
you
go. Like
Careful.
That's a Pat Shermer saying right there. He was the OC in Philly. So,
all right, tell us a little bit about you, because I think you were only at Incarnate Word for 1 year. So all of a sudden you're a head coach. I'm not sure how much older you are than Lindsey Scott Jr., not that much older. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to Texas State so fast.
Yeah, I grew up in this state. I'm a son of a Texas high school football coach, grew up on the sidelines in the locker room, threw for a bunch of yards and ran for a bunch of yards in high school, signed with Texas. Ended up transferring, got in the portal myself, going to Tulsa, and was a 3-year starter there, and got to play for some really, big time coaches. And, Todd Graham was my head coach. I played, Gus Malzahn recruited me. Chad Morris was my OC, Mike Norvell, Herb Hand, Bill Blankenship. So I had some big time coaches at the University of Tulsa. And then I go to get opportunity to play in the NFL and got to play for Chip Kelly when he was bringing his college offense to the NFL and kind of, learned his system and what he was all about, and the sports science aspect of it. So I think my years there, 13, 14, and 15 with him and Howie Roseman and how they built that thing and was huge. And I texted Howie this morning. He's one of my big mentors and really happy for what those guys are doing in Philly right now. And then getting the opportunity to get into coaching after that. And kind of happened fast. Started off with Chad Morris at SMU as a GA, and then went back to Philadelphia a couple years later and got to work for Doug Peterson. And that was another really cool experience, getting to learn from, Super Bowl winning coach. And I don't know if I would imagine he's the NFL coach of the year. I don't know if that happens or not, but he's another guy that I lean on and a huge mentor for me. And I would say our coaching styles all the coaches I've been around are probably the most similar. I think, former quarterbacks, players, coaches, but also demand, the discipline and accountability, part of it. But yeah, I think just all the different coaches that I've been around and then get the opportunity to go back with Gus Malzahn at UCF in 2021 and be the OC and kind of do that whole deal. And there's a reason why he battled Saban, that many years, in the recruiting. I learned a ton about recruiting from Coach Malzahn and how to, that whole process. And so that was a really good experience for me. And then get the opportunity to be a head coach last year at 33 years old and back in Texas and go 12-2 and I really thought we had a real opportunity to win it all. And I think people, we had number one offense in the country averaging, I think at 1.53 points per game. And, the FCS Heisman Trophy, the Walter Payton winner. And so we did a lot of really good things last year at Incarnate Word and got the opportunity to interview for a couple of head coaching jobs and ultimately, landed at Texas State. And I couldn't be, more excited and happy about this. I mean, since all the things I talked about with the 40,000 students and the river flowing through campus and the potential, but then once you get here, you're like, oh yeah, like this is it. So every day I'm really just excited to get up here to work and get after it and be at all the lift groups. And I was on the road recruiting, but I was up here this morning and just really developing those relationships with the players. Cause that's what it's about. Everyone's got good plays and everyone got good players, but I think it's about the chemistry and the relationships that you build. And so, that's what we're trying to do right now. And we'll get into, some of the football stuff a little bit later on in spring ball.
One more time out before we wrap it up with GJ Kinne, the head coach of Texas State. How does one become an Eagles fan when you live in the state of Texas. Interesting. But first, let me tell you about Built Bar. And this is a huge help for me during Senior Bowl week because I'm one to, eat all of the candy, which is delicious, but not necessarily good for you. Looking for a delicious treat, but don't want all the fat and calories? Then you got to try Built Bar. We just got through the holidays, and I know my goal is to eat a little healthier this year. If you're like me, where you want to eat healthier but don't want to compromise taste, and I've got the thing for you. You got to try Built. With Built, healthy is actually tasty. Seriously, they're so delicious you won't think they're good for you. Perfect for your New Year's resolution. What makes Built Bar so good? Well, for starters, they're all covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like candy while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is that they're healthy. Only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait around to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering your Built Bars from Built.com. Now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. If you're close to Sam's, run in, grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter, and churro. You can thank me later. All right, now I've had the cookies and cream. Delicious. At my Sam's Club, we actually get the salted caramel. Very good. And I had the coconut puffs. Be honest with you, I'm not a coconut fan, but this one was good. And I'll probably get 2 boxes because I will eat them like candy during Senior Bowl week. But it'll be pretty good, and it's better than all of the candy. And I'm going to try and not eat as much, although I know that I will. All right, let's wrap it up with G.J. Kinne, head coach of Texas State. Coach, how are you an Eagles fan when you live in the state of Texas? Oh, so that was fantastic, but sometimes I hear what I want to hear. What's it like being an Eagles fan in the state of Texas? How does that work out?
Yeah, I actually grew up an Eagles fan. My dad was on the training camp roster, I believe in '89 or '90. He was a linebacker, played at Baylor, and got an opportunity to go up there in Philly. So, he'd have his Eagles shirt on from his gear from training camp back in the day, and obviously in Dallas Cowboys country, and really, I hate to say it, but my 2 favorite teams, the Eagles and Cowboys. It's kind of one of those deals. I recruited John Stephen Jones to Arkansas, and so I got a great relationship with guys, but yeah, what they're doing right now in Philly is really cool, and I hope they go get another ring.
And then I hear you got connections to Mike Norvell at Florida State, so I'm figuring you've been on the phone trying to get a 2-for-1 with the Seminoles that the Bobcats can go play Florida State here soon.
Yeah, that's not my deal. I'll let Don handle that kind of stuff. But yeah, Coach Norvell is awesome and been a great resource throughout this process, and somebody I call every once in a while to just bounce ideas off of, and great coach, great person, and I was glad that he's last year you kind of see everything that they've been working towards and the work they put in kind of come to fruition. So that was pretty cool.
Couple more minutes with G.J. Kinne from Texas State, new head football coach. All right, so when you got the job, you were in the middle of the FCS playoffs. You made it all the way to the semifinals, losing to North Dakota State. And then you got the job, but instead of hiring a staff or waiting, you were kind of doing both. Yeah. Tell us about that process, how you were recruiting and coaching, and then when you were able to take a breath. I don't know, have you slept yet? Because all you guys are doing, you've signed about 30 new players in only a couple of months.
Yeah, it was tough, but I just felt like, I owed it to those guys at UIW and all the hard work they put in and the opportunity to go win a national championship. And so I was going to practice and meetings in the morning there, and then in the afternoons headed over to San Marcos and get to work recruiting and meeting with the current players on the roster and starting to build a staff. And, I brought most of my guys from UIW over, so I knew that was in place. But, so it was difficult, but at the same time, it was a very rare and special opportunity to go win a national championship. So, most of the efforts were there, but, obviously, like you said, we signed close to 30 guys, and that started really the day I got the job here, talking to high school coaches and talking to high school players and getting in that portal.
And how difficult do you think it's going to be to mesh the new players with the guys that are already there? And these guys aren't like they're coming in the fall. They're there now.
Yeah. I talked to him about this morning. I think that's the biggest challenge that, college football is facing right now. Not only us is, bringing these guys together and building that chemistry and really that love and that brotherhood that comes with college football. And so that'll be a big challenge, but, I would say that's one of my strengths as a coach is doing that. So I'm excited about the challenge.
G.J. Kinne, new Texas State Bobcats head coach, claims that they are going to light up the scoreboard. We love to hear it, and we look forward to seeing it. Congratulations on the new gig, and really appreciate your time. Thanks for hopping on Locked On Sunbelt.
Yeah, thanks, Dave, and look forward to a great season.
All right, I want to thank head coach G.J. Kinne, new head coach of Texas State, for joining us on Locked On Sunbelt. It's a busy time, right? Yesterday was National Signing Day, and he's recruiting, he's putting a staff together, he's moving. And so there's a lot going on with him. So I do appreciate his time for hopping on Locked On Sunbelt. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe. We're continuing to grow, and I appreciate everyone that's listening and watching. Once again, you've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. Have a great day, everybody. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.